in 20 or 30 seconds, why would you tell somebody to come attend the supply chain symposium and specifically come listen to the crisis panel? What are they going to learn?
Well, I could say something. I think supply chain strategies are different, not just following the pandemic, but really following the last 10 years of increased number of supply chain disruptions.
Yes.
And so the strategies are going to be different going forward. And it's important to talk about it because things aren't going to go back to the way they were before, at least not exactly.
I appreciate that, Dr. Rogers. Absolutely. People need to come and brainstorm and be thinking about how to evolve those strategies and how to reposition themselves and rethink these crises. Our theme that Miss Lisa has so ably identified is never waste a crisis. So that is the thrust of the conference, is how do you think about new supply chain strategy? So thank you, sir, for identifying that. Mr. Freeman, why should people come attend, sir?
Well, I think the simple answer to that question is so that we can share ideas on how to become more resilient to future disruptions. I do think it's important to maybe start the conversation by even characterizing the crisis, because in particular for the oil and gas industry, there's a crisis of demand destruction, which had an underlying impact on the economic fundamentals of our industry that was also happening at the same time as the physical disruptions in our ability to move people and goods around the world were happening. So it's actually one of the more complex crises that I've witnessed in my 40 years in industry. I would have to say it's the most complex. And one of the complexities for us is that this is actually one of a series of price related collapses. And what happened between 2014 and 2020 is that the pressure on cost and the reduction in kind of a new normal in oil price put a lot of financial pressure, not only on the producers, but even more so on suppliers. And so one of the real crises that we were managing was just a wave of supplier bankruptcies, and probably a still to be told story of consolidation, capacity reduction, and that actually created as much of a disruption and a change in the way we need to think about managing going forward as the COVID side of the crisis. So I think it'd be good to make sure we talk about up front. What are all the dimensions of the crisis that we're talking about?
Yeah, great point, sir. We just hosted the Upstream Symposium, and we had a service company executive who said that there is still not complete understanding of the decimation of the service capability, right? And the bandwidth that exists, the resource bandwidth, and how that has been affected because of the crisis. So you bring up a great point, sir.
Well, and you know what, Ravi, I think there's a subject which Lisa knows is one of my favorite things to talk about, that really goes to both the last two guys' points on how do you improve the sort of health of the supply chain, particularly when crises like these hit. And one of the things, we're doing some research right now, one of the key things that really helps that is the concept of supply chain financing, which some of us just wrote a book about, and it's a way to both use the supply chain to fund your organization, but it's also a way to support small suppliers and keep them healthier while you're trying to protect your financials as well. And there's a lot of innovation, a lot of new fintechs. This has become a huge business. I think when Lisa heard me talk about this the last time, I said that Citibank does $2.2 trillion a day in transactions. And
Yes.
last week I was talking to Citibank, and now they're doing $4 trillion a day in supply chain finance related transactions. 4 trillion a day. No, that's global numbers, but that's a huge, US GDP was 20 trillion
Yes.
a couple years ago. And so that's like in a week, Citibank is doing more in supply chain finance than all of US GDP.
Yes.
We're going to need that, Dale, if we're going to diversify our supply chains to make them more resilient and robust and geographically, distinct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So, Mr. Farrell, why should somebody come listen to this distinguished panel? I guess I'm tipping the answer, but
You must be talking about one of the other panels.
no, sir.
Robbie, I've been to this a bunch of times. I've wondered that every time I come.
And why do you come, sir? What brings you back?
No, I mean, joking aside, this is a somewhat unique forum for both supply chain practitioners as well as those that we interact with, at a meaningful level. And from a timing standpoint, it's coming at a time where this is the first time we've really been able to take our breath. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
The patient is going to live. Our equity currencies are, have increased off of a low bottom. But, and I think it's a chance for us to actually come together and say what we learned, because it's going to be different by company. Some people are going to say, oh, you know what, we were over leveraged, and some were under leveraged, and some had too robust a global sourcing program, and I think there's going to be some, there will certainly be some common themes, but I'm actually somewhat interested in hearing what some of the different perspectives are, because where you were in the value chain determined how painful this was.
In 20 or 30 seconds, if you were to tell somebody to take the time to come attend the symposium, and specifically your technology panel, what would you tell them? Why should they come attend? What are they going to learn?
I'll go ahead and say, I think they're going to learn about the risk reward payoffs of technology investments, about agile, fast decision-making, failing fast, placing big bets, trusting your gut and giving it a shot. And I think that learning about advanced technologies and how we reinvest in ourselves, always with our focus on our customers, is something that any company could benefit from.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Scott. Then
Yeah,
what?
I would just add to that. I just say, look, I believe, those that embrace innovation and technology are going to be those that win in the marketplace in the future, right? And this is a topic that's relevant to any business, any function, any domain. And when we think about procurement, we need to be thinking about it through that lens, right? How is innovation and technology going to transform what we do, how we do it, how we deliver value to the enterprise? And, we have a unique opportunity to say, let's reshape and rethink how we do our work to drive optimal outcomes for the business. There's never been a greater time or a greater need for supply chain and procurement transformation and unlocking the value of the supply chain for the enterprise. And I think it's a unique time where we can, really leverage technology and innovation to do that.
Well, that's great, Dan and Scott. I'm sure our attendees will listen to that, and then will come join the conference to learn from your insights. We appreciate you both.